What's the theme this week, Chris?
It is war.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Hey, getting the banter in early.
There we go. I'm relying on Chris a lot to say themes just because it's easier. I like listening to his deadpan. Our theme is war and him trying to pronounce names that he very clearly can't pronounce. But we got loads planned as well. We got fan mail this week. Chris, you've got a list. We've been pitching not fake sequels, but sequels to companies. We've even got a sponsor. Exciting. First sponsor. Back to number one podcast. Joe Rogan, eat your heart out. What? I think that's about it, really. Yeah, it's going.
Okay, so
war good for.
So I have got a list for everyone now. So Callum has been pitching sequels to different companies, and that got me thinking about a bunch of films that I think deserve war-related sequels. They're films that didn't have anything to do with war to begin with, but that I think could benefit from a war sequel.
Right, this could go very badly, Chris.
I thought they were sequels of war films that already existed, not that you've just added war into films that didn't previously have them.
No, that would be boring. Like, no one wants to see Schindler's List 2 or anything like that. This is films that could be incredible.
Right, what's number 10?
Number 10 is Kangaroo Jack in Iraq.
For fuck's sake. Before this link started, Chris told me that this list isn't even funny and most of the stuff he's done is just stupid. I can see what he means just from number 10. Right, why do you think Kangaroo Jack 2 in Iraq needs to happen?
Actually, it is Kangaroo Jack 3. They already made an animated sequel.
Oh no.
Did not know that.
Devastated.
I don't know. I imagine the Iraq War would have been a lot better if it was fought with a talking kangaroo.
Just scare people on the front lines.
Yeah. I'd be pretty scared. I'd surrender if I saw a talking kangaroo coming towards me.
Yeah. If I remember rightly, Kangaroo Jack is an absolute weapon in that film as well. But...
yeah, he's only in the dream sequence. He's not in the rest of the film. But then in the sequel, they made it all about him.
Chris, number 9.
Number 9. The Fault in Our Star Wars, in which Rey gets space cancer.
Chris, for fuck's sake.
I completely forgot I wrote that, and I regretted it as soon as I read the list.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That's just out of order. We'll move on swiftly. What's number 8?
Number 8 is Stuart Little 4, The Uprising.
Right, you've reeled it in a bit.
Yeah, there's nothing quite as bad as number 9, again on the list.
Right, good.
Glad that we've set the bar low earlier on.
Would you have Michael J. Fox back to voice Stuart Little?
You couldn't have it any other way. He is Stuart Little.
Good.
I always forget that he voices Stuart Little.
Well, no, the other 2 films had Michael J. Fox in it.
Did they?
Yeah.
It does not sound like Michael J. Fox in that.
Does he only do voice acting now? It's not really relevant, but...
He was in a couple episodes of Scrubs, but that's like all I've seen him in recently.
What a guy.
There we go. All right, number 7.
Number 7 is Beauty versus the Beast.
Clever. I like what you've done there.
Thanks.
What went wrong in the marriage to cause a war?
It would be a very interesting film.
So you've not thought it out. You've just got a title. Is what you're telling me. Right. Okay.
I'm sure that happens a lot in Hollywood. They just have a title or a basic idea and they're like, yeah, go with it.
90% of their films.
Yeah. Ant-Man 7. Ant-Man flies to the moon and eats moon dust. I don't know where I'm going with this. See, this is what you need. You need somewhere to go with it before you have the title, I think.
All right, number 6 is it?
Number 6 is The Cat in the Hat Strikes Back, in which the cat makes an army of things and revolts against the humans.
Wow.
The human or humans in general?
The humans, just general.
Could you imagine an army of those terrifying things chasing you?
Exactly.
Just my mind.
They genuinely scared me as a kid.
Have you ever been on the ride? It was horrendous.
Was it more
It's just,
horrendous than the film?
Yeah, it's just batshit. Imagine the film, but just in physical form. It was just batshit mental. It was like a goldfish that sprayed water directly into your eyes as you were going around and stuff. Dang it. Dirty goldfish water, and Mike Myers screaming things as loudly as he can over the intercom by your head.
Little aside here, but when my nan went to Universal Studios, she went on the ET ride. And before you get on, ET asks you what your name is. So that when you get off, he says, "Well done," and then your name. So my nan said shithead. So when she got off, ET went, "Well done, shithead." There we go.
I don't need to give the time. I honestly need to get out of the habit because I want to say the time's now 7:20 because we used to have to say the time on our radio show.
That's weird.
But we don't have to because it gets edited down to a podcast and people will be listening to it like 2:00 in the afternoon. They'll be like, "Why are you telling me the time? It's not 7:20."
What are you lying for?
Little things. We also found out, I know it's not linked to Chris's list, but I've just thought about it, that for some reason our audience is predominantly on Deezer and we hit like 126 listens on Deezer so far.
Have we actually?
They email us on our email address, and I was checking it and they sent like a spreadsheet that's really poorly implemented and we've reached 126 listens so far.
Well, I'm sure they're all
Most of them
enjoy...
only listen for like 19 minutes because that's the average listening time, but it's still 126 people that have clicked on it.
Do we make any money?
Still 19 minutes. No, we don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We make all our money from
Absolutely.
the sponsors we've started getting.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I suppose.
Looking forward to the
All right,
first one
Chris.
this week.
Do you want to do number 5 and 4 off the list? Well, number 5 first.
Yeah. Number 5 is Freddy versus Stalin, in which the US bring Freddy from the dream world into the real world to defeat Stalin.
Someone's got to do it.
Stalin, isn't he already dead?
Yeah. It's a history movie.
Yeah.
Okay, it's an alternate history prequel.
Couldn't they?
No,
put
that's
Freddy
what happened
Krueger
in real
into
life.
Stalin's dreams?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's
I
not
guess.
an alternate history. It's just a straight up true story.
Yeah. Well, he did die in his sleep,
He
so
said
maybe
it.
that is what happened.
Exactly. Oh, mate, that is actually the first good idea you've had on this list so far.
I thought
could
number
work.
9 was pretty great.
We're going to not talk about number 9.
But no, it's been written off.
Yeah, did you want to... What's number 4?
Number 4 is Grease 3, which is set in the Vietnam War.
Oh, God.
Who's out there? Is it Sandy and...
Did
No,
Greece
it's
not
John
already
Travolta.
start post-Vietnam War, though? Wasn't it in the 80s? Vietnam War had already happened by this
No,
point.
the first Grease was set in the 50s. I think the second
Yeah.
one was the 60s, so why not late 60s, 70s? About
So we're
two
building up
people
to
who...
Sandy waving off Travolta.
Well, it would be a new couple because the second one was also a new couple.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so it's a new alternate history version. Is it a musical still?
Well, yeah, can't not be a musical.
It could be an American GI and a Vietnamese lady.
Exactly.
Again, another one that works. Well done. We could.
She
I
has
think that could actually work.
She has a song called Me Love You Long Time.
Oh, Chris. Why have you said that?
It's a quote from Full Metal Jacket. Don't blame me, blame Stanley Kubrick. He was the racist one.
For fuck's
Number
sake, right,
3.
move on.
Number 3, the Iron Giant fights back.
Fight back against
Have
what?
you got
The military.
death? Oh, okay.
Does the military kill him?
Yeah.
He blows up, doesn't he? A
Yeah,
nuke into the sun.
Yeah, there's like a nuke coming or something, and he flies into it and says he's Superman.
Do you know what? I think I've got the Iron Giant mixed up with the BFG.
Maybe.
It ends with Vin Diesel flying into the sun, doesn't it? With that nuke, and he just blows up above the thing. He puts his thumbs up and then flies off and dies.
It's like Terminator 2.
Makes me cry every time I watch it.
Don't know if you should admit that.
I'll happily admit it. It's a sad film.
Doubles down. All right,
number two?
Number 2 is Mr. Bean's Syrian Holiday, in which Mr. Bean tries to escape Syria with the help of a refugee.
Chris, for fuck's sake, mate.
I've got nothing to add because
neither have I.
We just leave him to it. None of us veto this before he puts it through.
Yeah, he doesn't send these. This is the first time we're hearing it.
No, because if I told you, your reaction wouldn't be genuine and it would be boring.
True, I suppose.
You've got the shock factor out of us. All right, what's number 1?
Number 1 is, of course, the brave little toaster toasts Hitler.
Fair play. I can get on board with
Have you got anything to add on this one, Chris?
It's another alternative history movie in which the brave little toaster and all the other kitchen appliances bring down Hitler.
Respect to them.
I like it. Is it animated, or are we going to bring into 21st
it's animated.
Make it live action?
No, we have to keep it animated. We have to keep the spirit of brave little toaster alive.
Can you imagine how weird animated Hitler looked?
I
just killed it. Just killed it with that comment.
Oh, I've got nothing to add. Chris, you've mortified me. Kai, you equally scare me with your...
I just think animated Hitler would look weird. I imagine him just like, what is it, goose stepping all over the place. Just very angry, shouting.
There must be an animated version of him somewhere.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up.
All right, Chris, we got a sponsor this week, which is exciting because it's our first ever C to the T sponsor.
Very excited. Made loads of money off this one.
Honestly, absolutely fucking buzzing to get Joe Rogan eat your heart out. Chris, who's our sponsor?
Yeah, so last week we plugged on our show that we were taking sponsors through the email address that we handed out, and luckily we got a couple people come in contact, and this is probably my favourite one, which is why we decided to go with it. It is a new company called Fartbag, the new monthly subscription service for your smelly needs. Every month Fartbag sends you 2 bags of farts specially created by our expert farters. Each bag comes with a guide on how to properly inhale the stench, as well as a brief description of what our experts were eating when creating the bag. If you sign up at fartbag.com and use the code C to the T, you will get your first month free, as well as a special bonus bag with a mystery smell in it. So, that is fartbag.com with the code C to the T for all your smelly needs.
That's disgusting. Why did we accept them?
Because they were the most interesting of the ones.
That's... Oh... Have we got to actually like promote them?
We just did.
We just did. We are.
Say, like,
they're our
buy it because you will throw up as soon as you open that bag.
Oh, because they're our sponsor. They're funding us.
Yeah, we have to be unbiased. We read what they send us, and that's it.
Kai, you love fartbag.com, so fucking get over it.
Fartbag.com has changed my life.
/ C to the T. There we go. Callum, Kai, and Chris. The number 1 pirate radio show for dead people. Oh, a podcast with dead people as well, I guess.
Can use it for both, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously, we were talking about Chris's tremendous sequel ideas, some that we'll never bring up again. And it's been an ongoing discussion between us, really, hasn't it, about sequels? And I mean, I'm dead against them, and remakes as well. So we got to thinking that we should create some of our own.
And against sequels.
Well, I'm not particularly a fan of them unless they're planned out. You can't just churn films out.
Terminator 2.
Terminator 1
first one.
No.
Godfather 2. Classic.
They're planned out, like they know they're going to happen in advance,
Shrek
don't they?
2.
Exactly. Superior.
All right. Well, whatever. I'm not a fan of sequels in general, but they reach a ridiculous extent where you make sequels for films that didn't need sequels. Was the point I was trying to make?
Like Fast and Furious 12 or whatever they're up to now.
Yeah,
it's just silly.
Just not needed.
That 2001 sequel as well.
Oh yeah, true. Forgot that was even a thing.
Yeah, same.
Like, there's just too many. You can just franchise anything, basically, and I decided to take it upon myself in my hectic schedule to create my own sequel and pitch it to specific production companies that had either released or distributed a previous film. And because it was war themed, it was hard to find a war film that sort of warranted a sequel, because I can't just go pitching Dunkirk 2 as much as I'd wanted, because it just didn't sound like it was in good taste. I wanted them to believe it and make the sequel for me. So I emailed Lionsgate to try and create another Fallen movie with Gerald Butler and Morgan Freeman.
Oh, we don't need that.
They've previously created Angel Has Fallen, where he saved America, London Has Fallen, where he saved London, and then he also created Angel Has Fallen, where he saved America.
Doesn't he get framed in that one?
Yeah, but he saves America again. He saves the president for the third time.
So why do you want a fourth one? This seems like a waste of a sequel in my opinion.
Because I thought that they'd be well on board for it, and we could get writing credits, we could be producers, and
I don't want to put my name to that. I don't want to put my name to that.
It's too late. So I emailed Lionsgate, and I opened it with, "Hoorah," and said, "We are emailing you today as we have another idea for a Fallen movie." I'm honestly surprised that you've not managed to churn this one out already, since Gerald Butler has already saved everything on the planet. But we are pitching this idea that he saves space from an unknown alien force. I then followed up with, "I know what you are thinking. Isn't this just another whitewashed Independence Day? And yes, you are correct. It is exactly that. But when has that ever stopped you?" And then I included a link for Dirty Dancing Havana Nights, which wasn't really relevant, but I thought I'd be funny, so I'd include it in there anyway, because they distributed it in the early 2000s. So then I followed up with the rest of the idea. So I said, "The idea is set 10 years after the events of Angel Has Fallen. Morgan Freeman is transcended into an AI that is currently running the US government, since he successfully managed to abolish the minimum terms after winning the sympathy from the public, as he has nearly been brutally murdered in terrorist attacks the previous 3 times. Gerald Butler is now currently locked away in an institute due to a violent attack he suffered in a supermarket when having an episode of PTSD following the guilt he feels for murdering numerous people that have been threatening his and the president's life. This attack is not brought up except for during the opening 5 minutes, and then is previously never mentioned again." And I will add, I got quite drunk by this point because I just started waffling. So I said, "After this dramatic build-up that we never bring up again, we then jump another 10 years into the future, so we're now in 2050. We see a huge wide shot of the White House where a spaceship appears and fires a laser, blowing it into pieces." And then in brackets,
Literally happened in Independence Day.
So in brackets, I put reuse shots from Independence Day to save money, and then close bracket.
Do they even own Independence Day?
I don't know, but I just put it in there anyway, just so they could save a bit of money in pre-production.
Although, to be fair, they probably have to pay more to get the rights to the footage from Independence Day than they would just recreating it.
We don't know that, but I included it anyway, just as a bit of a guideline for them. So I then we then smash cut to a dramatic shot of the news saying aliens have landed, a bit like the Armageddon bit with the meteoroid, except you're making it instead. And then you say that they've destroyed the White House and the moon, and full stop. And then I started a new paragraph that says, "Gerald Butler is then released and fights the aliens with his bare hands, as our future weapons don't work since they've wiped out all our satellites." And then I just put, "You can write the rest. You've churned out enough sequels to think of it." And then below put, "Please let me know if you would like to proceed with this. I can send a spec script and would like to be added to the writing credits when this is produced. Yes, please cast Howard the Duck voice actor as the main alien. Kind regards, Callum from Gold to the Touch.
Did
Sounds
you get
good.
a response?
I haven't had one yet, but I'm still holding out that they might just churn it out for me.
If we can get
I don't
that
think
as
that's gonna
many
happen,
responses from Heaven's Gate as we did, we can get at least one response from Lionsgate.
Yeah,
Exactly.
sure.
So I emailed it to Lionsgate, the 4 distribution companies that helped fund Independence Day, and I also emailed it to a random fashion company I found on the internet just to see if they would reply to me. But I'm still waiting a response from all of them.
You've gone deep on that email then.
Exactly. I forget the songs can fade out as well. Like I said, all the best songs fade out.
When I drunkenly said that many moons ago.
Yeah.
I
So it was
remember at one
Metallica
point
1.
he also said that why do songs fade out? It's so stupid.
What can I say? I sit on the fence. I straddle both sides.
Like
Right,
when
we're
you
constantly-
hated Elton John for years and you were like, okay, I'll admit Tiny Dancer's good.
Yeah, Tony Dancer is good. And so is the song
Alright.
at the start of Dog Day Afternoon. But yeah,
Chris,
Callum,
do you
take
wanna-
it away.
Not me. Chris is the one that made the recommendation.
Oh
so
yeah, sorry, Chris.
Want to chat away?
Yeah, so last week we decided that from now on we're going to do a film and an album discussion where each of us pick a film and an album and we recommend it to you guys and then we discuss it. Since the theme is war, I decided to pick the film Johnny Got His Gun by Dalton Trumbo. Mostly because I watched it years ago and I really loved it, so I was excited to go back and rewatch it. Yeah, safe to say it doesn't really hold up as well as I remembered it. It's a
We
film.
were quite surprised.
Yeah, it's a film about a soldier who gets hit by artillery and ends up going to the medical center where he's got no arms, no legs, basically no face. Everyone thinks he's dead or in a coma, but he's alive, he's conscious, and the film kind of goes back and forth between him on the hospital bed imagining what he wants to do in the future and thinking about what's going on around me, and also a bunch of dream sequences as well as flashbacks into his life. So yeah, before I talk about the film at length, what did you guys think of it?
So I felt bad originally when I watched it because I really didn't enjoy it very much. And I was like, oh no, Chris really likes this film. He's been talking so passionately about it. And when I watched it, I was like, this is so like melodramatic and over the top. Like, it felt like I was watching a Robert Zemeckis film, but like the tone of it just doesn't fit with the content of the film. Because it's so dark and depressing. It's like a man's had his face blown off. He's got no limbs left. But then there's like weird flashbacks where he's talking to Jesus and he's like, I don't know, was he gay for his dad? That was the impression I got. Like, there was just so much weird flashbacks and it was just so melodramatic.
They're quite heavy-handed with
deal with
every
it.
metaphor in it, aren't they? I didn't really have an opinion because Clyde already told me he didn't like it, and then Chris was like, I haven't actually watched it in a while, I'll watch it again. So I was just like, I went in like, oh no, what the hell am I about to watch? I didn't mind it. It's a bit of a depressing thought, to be fair. But
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland's in it, I guess. He sort of carries a little bit.
Yeah. Donald
Of the
Sutherland
acting.
and Jason Robards as the guy's dad are like the two best performances in the film.
It's got
Definitely
a massive
need more
cult
of that.
following now, though.
Yeah, it
As
does.
the most weird shit
It
like
was
that. But
mostly
I mean, this one has.
It mostly came from that Metallica song because there's loads of clips in the music video from the film, which is where I found out about it. Because when I got heavily into Metallica, I saw the music video. I was like, I need to watch whatever this is. And apparently they even bought the rights to the film because it was cheaper than them paying royalties anytime their music video played on TV.
I was literally just about to say that. They brought Metallica, eventually they chipped in to buy the rights to the film in order to keep paying the music video without having to pay additional royalty fees.
Respect to them, I guess.
There's also a 2008 remake of it,
Yeah, it
which
was
I
like,
didn't know.
yeah, they turned it into a play, and then in 2008 they filmed a performance of the play and released it as a new film, essentially. But it is literally just a stage performance of the play version.
It seems like quite a random film to want to remake into a stage show. Just some guy alive there, dying, trying to communicate.
I do think in a lot of ways it probably works better as a play, like as a one-man show of him, like all
I
the
can see that
monologues and stuff that he has when he's under the covers and stuff in the hospital.
Yeah. See, the monologues were what like sort of brought the film down for me, because it was like just the line delivery of them was so weird and like cheesy, and it felt like a film. Like Dalton Trumbo was a screenwriter in the 40s and 50s, and it felt like a 40s and 50s film, but with like a 70s like subject matter.
Yeah,
and it just didn't work. I thought it was like a really weird tonal clash, and I was just not into it.
The film was originally a book that he wrote in 1939, and he adapted it like in the 70s as that film.
Oh, okay.
So I definitely feel like maybe he was too close to the source material to make something that felt modern.
Yeah.
So you kind of get something that's very tonally inconsistent, and a lot of the time feels very old for what it is.
Yeah.
It's also got probably one of the most depressing endings, coming close to The Mist. Like, so horrendously morbid.
To be fair, I'll give the film its due. Like the last 15-20 minutes when they find out that the guy can actually like think and feel, and he's talking to them in Morse code, and they're like discovering like what he wants, because he wants to be like a freak show basically.
Yeah.
Or if not that, if they won't give him that, they want him to kill him. And that whole segment I really liked. Like, I wish the whole film was like that.
Yeah, I thought that was
the tone was a lot better.
It's a very powerful statement on euthanasia. I thought that section was.
Yeah. To give it its credit, I think, the metaphors are a bit heavy-handed, especially with Christ. They get across what they want to say relatively well. I just don't think it's aged well. I think if we were watching it when it was first released, we'd probably have a lot different to say about it.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that, to be fair.
Because there's so much drama in general, just it tends to not age well, because what was drama then turns into melodrama now. I don't know if that makes sense, but it gets a bit ham-fisted along the way.
Yeah.
I found
that's my main issue with it.
I found a lot of the symbolism and a lot of the characters were almost kind of cartoonish representations of what he was trying to go for. Like the people like the general and even his dad, I thought, were kind of like cartoonish representations of like ignorant pro-war militarists, and I felt like some of it was a little bit too over the top.
Yeah, the girlfriend that he had before he went to the war, and there's the scene really early on where they're like in love. It's the last night before he goes away, and her dad comes in, and his performance was just so over the top and rushed. Like, he was like racing through the lines. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I was like, what is happening here? But the scene other than that was really nice. Like, it was a really, like, I thought it was a good scene, like, for someone that's literally with the person they love for the last time before they go away to war and potentially die.
Whereas I thought that scene was a little cringy. I was like, that was the point where when I was rewatching it, I was like, what have I just recommended?
Yeah. That message you sent in the group chat, you were like, I'm really sorry for this recommendation. I was like, okay, phew. At least I'm not just going to shit all over Chris's like a favourite film of his.
No,
to be honest though, like, not to be the devil's advocate, but it really wasn't. It wasn't horrendous. Like, I wouldn't not recommend it to people.
No, it's not a bad film.
But like, compared to today's standard, there's definitely better ways of portraying things like illness and injuries in war. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't think of
that film done better. Like, I guess that's just where we live in the future. You know what I mean?
I wrote a lot about.
At the time, I can imagine.
No, go ahead, Callum.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, at the time, if CTT was sat in the cinema, we'd have probably come out, raved about it, and said it was brilliant.
Yeah. I wrote a lot
about
a lot of the technical aspects of it, like how I liked the usage of black and white in the reality scenes, because I thought it added a very bleak sort of atmosphere, and I thought it contrasted the colourful, dreamlike aspect.
Yeah, and I guess all he sees is black and white, so it makes sense to put that in black and white, because that's literally the only thing he sees is just darkness. Like, I thought that worked well.
I found a lot of the music and also the editing was incredibly aged and kind of almost felt like an old soap from the 70s. Like, there was a lot of scenes in, like, where he was flashbacking, I kept thinking of Little House on the Prairie, because it's very similar in that sort of very melodramatic, over-the-top tone.
Yeah, that's what I meant when it was like, if it was like a film from the 50s, like, but made in the 70s, like, the sensibility of it and the editing was just so, like, 1950s to me. I couldn't get past it.
Yeah. Also, I don't know whether it was a problem with the actual film or, like, the transfer and stuff, but I found a lot of the mixing, like the sound mixing, was really bad. Like, there was one scene that I noted where Joe, the main character, is talking, like it's when he first goes off to war, and there's this loud triumphant orchestra that completely drowns out everything he says, and you can't hear anything. And I found, like, I don't know whether the version you guys watched, because you watched it on YouTube, whereas I had the DVD, I found like there was a lot of scenes where everything was heavily distorted and really loud.
Yeah, I did notice like some sound spikes.
Ours wasn't too bad, because we watched we've got a soundbar in our room that balances audio automatically, so you don't tend to get too many spikes.
Yeah,
but you
so
have
do
like the odd sound effect that'll pierce through that's just like, whoa, what the hell? Because trying to watch Interstellar with the really flipping loud music with the audio on top, it's just too much sometimes.
There was also a lot of issues with like voice dubbing, I noticed as well, where there was some moments where characters' voices were completely out of sync.
Yeah, I noticed that in, do you know, it's like the bakery scene flashback, it's Christmas, and they're all having a dance, and it's like their boss is literally standing there with a glass of champagne and just repeating the words, "I am the boss, this is champagne, Merry Christmas."
Yeah,
He said it about 30 times. And
I noted that line down.
Oh, God.
I was like, so awful.
Shut up. But yeah, the audio was off for that, but yeah.
There's also a lot of weird things.
Into the next.
Yeah. Let me just go over the last couple points I had. The dialogue I felt a lot of the time was very weird. I noted a line which says, "A man without an arm is a cripple and all he can do is go around selling pencils." I don't really understand what I meant. No. And also I found the scene where the nurse gives him a hand job very strange as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Is it the same nurse that tries to euthanize him later on?
Yeah, she gives him a hand job at one point.
It is.
Yeah, I guess she just felt pity for him, but like the way it came across was like she was in love with him because he's in love with her, and I was like, this is so weird. Why
and if you're in a coma, the last thing. Yeah, fucking hell. It's a bit much, isn't it? Especially, you're not gonna.
I did like that edit though, where like she's giving him a handy, and then he like jumps out of a lake in a flashback.
Yeah,
made me laugh.
It was pretty funny, to be fair.
Yeah, I think that's all I've really got to say about it. So,
what would you guys give it rating wise?
3 cold to the touches out of 5.
Yeah, so I gave it 2 cold to the touches out of 5.
I was also.
I don't know, like
3 for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's as bad as a 2. I don't think I looked into it analytically as you did, because I wrote on my notes, wouldn't it be funny if Kai was a paraplegic? That was it. That was the only thing I wrote during the thing. And I wrote that the first 15 minutes. Yeah, and then stopped writing
you'd
things. You'd
love it if I was a paraplegic.
It'd just be funny. We'd just be fucking with you.
Yeah, exactly. I can just imagine you whispering in my ear, like, look at you, limbless fuck, and stuff like that.
Because I know you'd do the same, so I just thought it was funny if... But I don't know, because I tried to block... You two had sold it so terribly that I just went in and was like, well, this is going to be terrible. And I watched it and was like, it really wasn't as bad as you made it out to be. But, I mean, Kai's you're quite aggressive towards films anyway.
I don't know. I just think, I don't know.
It's not
Yeah,
aged the
I guess
best.
so.
There's a lot of anti-war
No.
films that I would have recommended instead that I wish I did. Like, I was thinking originally doing Apocalypse Now or Full Metal Jacket, which are two of the best war films in my opinion.
But I guess you've got to like try and find stuff
Yeah.
that like other people haven't seen, so we can have like a decent discussion. So I can.
I know we've all got strong opinions on the previous Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket, so it's
After
not really a fun recommendation, is there?
No, after watching Come and See yesterday, I wish I picked that, because that's definitely a very disturbing and very depressing anti-war film, more so than what this is.
Yeah.
But I think that's everything we have to say for the film for now.
Yeah. Callum's just dabbed there, too, unfortunately, on video chat.
I'm excited though. It's been
a good show so far. I'm enjoying it.
It has been a good show, and it's been a good playlist as well. We've had some good songs. We've had R.E.M., we've had Metallica, we've just played Radiohead.
We had Talking
Radiohead
Heads
B-side
earlier.
as well. We're getting deep.
Yeah.
I think Man of War is definitely a B-side, isn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the only songs they hadn't released before the OK Computer re-release.
It's such a good song, though.
It's a great
song. How it didn't make it to the album.
They tried to submit it for the theme song of Spectre, but they were told they can't have it because it's a song they'd already written.
I'm sorry,
the thing is,
producers, since when did you get so picky? Like, grow
It
up.
was better than the one that
Especially
they
the
ended
song
up
they
going
chose
for.
as well.
The Sam
they went
Smith
with,
song.
Was it Sam Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not a good Bond theme.
Christ. All right, Chris. So you've got a new segment involved with the recommendations, haven't you? Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, so I thought it'd be a cool idea to go back to this old segment years ago we did where we talked about ridiculous reviews that we found before it was on Amazon. I tried to find Amazon reviews and IMDb reviews, but I couldn't find any that were actually funny for the film we reviewed. But I found 10 funny ones on Letterboxd. Some are literally funny because of how bad they are. Some are, unironically, they've obviously tried to make a funny review. So I thought it would be good to go through these Letterboxd reviews that I've compiled.
Cool.
There you go.
First
All right,
up.
just start us off at number 10.
First up's from Brian Strang. His review was, I really don't think he ever did get his gun.
Letterboxd
to be
is a
fair.
wasteland for fucking lunatics. It really is.
There's no like serious like discussion on there at all, really, is there?
There's not a
I
serious
keep
discussion
having
on
my
any of
Letterboxd
these.
account suspended.
Yeah.
Okay. SJ Andrews wrote, the fuck did I just watch? Save yourself 108 minutes and watch Metallica's one video. It's more to the point and has less awkward hand jobs and Jesus.
To be fair, I
God.
kind of agree with it.
Serrano said, the thing on his face really bothered me. Just give me a little sneaky peek.
Yeah, I wanted to see his face, the whole thing. I was like, what does
Have you
he look
seen
like?
the actor that played him is still alive?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's in The Last Picture Show, which is such a good film.
Yeah, I've heard it's
He's
really
in
good.
Invaders
Somewhere
from
I
Mars
watched
as well.
it. He's aged pretty well,
he?
to be fair. He doesn't look that old now.
He's also in loads of really bad Hallmark Christmas movies like Holiday in Handcuffs, where I read out the synopsis. So, to avoid feeling like a family's black sheep, a struggling artist working as a waitress kidnaps one of her good-looking customers to bring home to the family from Christmas, and he plays the
Jesus.
dad in it.
That's not Christmassy at all.
Okay, so the next review I've got is from Asa. As much as I hate to trash talk an anti-war film, this one was a total snooze fest. Heavy-handed script and wooden performances. On the other hand, Donald Sutherland plays Jesus.
Yeah. That was the best part of the film, was Donald Sutherland as
The
Jesus.
most wild career as well of all time.
Yeah,
So
he has
many
to be fair.
random roles.
Rennie Minerva put, I am the boss, this is champagne, Merry Christmas.
That fucking line is like stitched into my brain now. I can never forget it.
Rosa put interesting. That was the whole review, a 3-star review that said interesting.
I suppose it was interesting.
Yeah. Johnny 5 put he's got the weirdest sex life.
True.
TVN movies put, at first I was like, what? But then I was like, oh.
Yeah. That was kind of weak, though, that review.
Groke
Fuck
put,
that guy.
Groke put, is it childish that every time someone in a movie is named Joe, the only word I think of is mama?
For God's sake.
After that, they put a serious review, but there's no point reading
Boring.
Boring. It's not what we want on Culture Touch.
And the final one is my favourite one from Danny Sullivan, which just says, if I am ever in a coma, pull the plug.
Jesus.
My favourite thing about that review was the character's not even in a coma in the film.
Yeah, he's not in a coma. And if you were in a coma, there's always a chance you could come out of it. So I'd want that life support on as long as it could go.
Jesus. What a heavy... I don't know. There's nothing I can say. Fuck.
What mix of reactions.
Yeah.
Letterboxd is good, though. It is a wasteland.
Yeah,
there are some
it is funny,
lunatics
though.
on there.
Yeah.
Guy's made a mortal enemy on Letterboxd.
He's made a couple, to be fair.
Yeah, I've got 2 of them.
We'll talk about that another day. We're listening to Cold to the Touch on Twitch.
What a
soon to be edited
that
to
is.
down on Spotify and Deezer. I had to try the whispering at some point. Eventually, hopefully, we can get a soundboard and one of us can just whisper it.
That was an absolute staple of the old show, where you'd say that and then whisper afterward.
I literally completely forgot about that till just then.
I'm going to bring it back. Every link now, the whisper's coming back, without a doubt. Alright, so we were talking about Chris's recommendation. So Chris recommended Johnny Got His Gun as his film. And do you want to talk about your album recommendation, and me and Kai can weigh in?
Yeah, so as I was talking about last week, it took me a while to think of a war-related album, and the two that I wanted to pick, War by U2 and Viva La Vida by Coldplay. I knew Kai would start a riot and refuse to talk about them. So I went with the freewheeling Bob Dylan, because I knew it was an album that we've all heard, and I think we all really like anyway. So it's his second album, and it marked a shift in his music from performing nothing but traditional folk songs, which he basically did on his first album, to writing more contemporary lyrics to traditional melodies. Although the album's not necessarily a war album, it does focus a lot on his anxieties of the fear of nuclear war, his feelings towards peace and love during the Vietnam War, as well as the civil rights movement. And there's a lot of war-related songs on the album. So yeah, once again, before I get into the notes and stuff that I had, what do you guys think of the album?
Want me to start? I'll start, because I know Kai's got a lot to say on it.
Yeah, sorry. I think I'm a bit behind, so you start and then I'll weigh in.
Yeah, I mean, I probably haven't got as much to add as Kai, but I love it. I think it's one of my favourite Bob Dylan albums. There is... what's the album that New Morning's on? I should know it, considering it's
called New Morning.
Yeah, it's just called New Morning.
Oh, yeah, so this one and New Morning are two of my favourite albums. I know it doesn't sound it because I'm asking for the name of it, but he's got so many at this point.
That's what I forget album names all the time.
It's too hard to keep up, but I mean, this is one of my favourite ones. There is one song, and I'm going to bring it up and I won't bring it up again. Every time it comes on, I just roll my eyes, because it's just Bob Dylan waffling, basically, and it's the Bob Dylan blues song.
Yeah,
it's a great.
And it's just him rambling in a terrible voice. He starts talking about the Lone Ranger at one point, Toto and stuff.
It's
just
by
too
far
much.
The worst song on the album.
If you could bring an album down, it is by far with that song, because this album would be like a solid 9 out of 10 if it wasn't for that song.
I think everything else outweighs that song, but that song is definitely like a sign to come that Bob Dylan will write terrible music.
Just waffles. Yeah. It's not even music. music. It's just him rambling.
And he changes his voice so differently to the rest of the album as well. It's like, what are you doing?
I mean, the album has got classics on it though, because I mean, what they got? Blown in the Wind. I've got it. Down the Highway. Don't Think Twice is all right.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite Bob Dylan songs ever. And then you got Bob Dylan's Dream as well. That's another favourite of mine.
Yeah, Oxford Town. That's a good song.
Girl
Oxford
from the
Town's a
North
good song,
Country
yeah.
is one of my favourites.
Yeah, that's definitely up there.
Ooh. The thing is with his music though, like even the ones that are overplayed, like Don't Think Twice is all right, Blown in the Wind, they can never be overplayed because they're such good songs.
Yeah, and I mean the songwriting, like the ability to write those songs at the age of 20 is incredible. Like I know everyone shits on Bob Dylan now for his terrible songwriting and it's just covers of like show tunes, but like the songwriting ability he had in his like early days was just second to none. It's incredible.
I think one of my favourite things about this album is how lyrically diverse it is. Like obviously the instrumentation, apart from like one song that has a full band on it, pretty much everything is Karina. That's what I was thinking of with the full band. The rest of it is literally just him, his acoustic guitar and a harmonica. But I think his lyrics on it are so good and so diverse that it makes the album really interesting to listen to.
Yeah, because
it makes me
I've
not
never
hate
really
the
thought about
harmonica.
that, but yeah.
Like there's songs where he just basically tells simple stories. I've got bitter and politically charged songs, as well as songs like Talking World War III Blues, which is like a song that's like filled with surreal humour, all about nuclear annihilation and stuff like that. Yeah. Every single song, for the most part, is completely different to the other, and that's one of my favourite things about this album.
Yeah, true. I've never really thought about that because there's not a lot different, like musically wise. Like it is just an acoustic guitar and a harmonica, but yeah, I guess it's the lyrics that just completely change things up from song to song. Because he can go from like writing a really romantic like love song about how much he misses his girlfriend straight into like an anti-war song, and yeah, it's quite special.
The thing is, the lyrics aren't overly complicated either. They're not like there's not like deep metaphors hidden in something like Radiohead, Father John Misty.
No,
like,
that was
even like Courtney Barnett to some extent. Like they hide metaphors in their songs or hidden meanings. Like his lyrics are what they are, but it's just
on his folk albums, he's really, really blunt. To be fair, and it's what the time needed. Like just blunt, force, like lyrics, like this is how it is, sort of thing.
There are some songs that I think are very poetic. Like probably my favourite Bob Dylan song, A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall, is on this album. And it's made up of like first lines from songs that he thought he'd never write. And a lot of the lyrics in there are very weird and up to interpretation. I think it's meant to be about like suffering, pollution and warfare and stuff like that. But a lot of the lyrics are very poetic and up to interpretation rather than blunt things like a lot of the songs are. Yeah.
You can see from like, even though he's 20 years old and this is only his second album, you can see what a like incredible songwriter he is, just because of the variations of like lyrics and different styles of singing and stuff. It's just it's next level.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else to add about the album?
I wish I did. I just love it. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it.
What would we all rate it? Say out of 5 again, like we did with film.
Say 4.5 Cold to the Touches out of 5.
Yeah, I'd go with a 4.5 Cold to the Touch out of 5 as well.
I'd say as well, before Chris gives his rating, that it's definitely a good starting point as well if you want to listen to him.
Yeah.
That's probably where you should start out of anywhere else. I know it's his most popular, so some like die-hard fans will be like, oh, start. But like that's definitely, especially if you just want to get into folk music or singer-songwriting on a whole. Like I know he sort of started my interest in folk music.
Yeah, it's a place to start, really, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. It's one of my probably top 20 favourite albums of all time. Definitely one of my favourite folk albums as well.
Is it your favourite Bob Dylan album? Would you say?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot I really like as well. Like New Morning, as we mentioned already, and
Yeah, I like a lot of
I'm
his
struggling to
electric
think of
stuff.
other stuff. A lot of his electric stuff's really good, but yeah, this is
I like
definitely my
Highway
favourite.
61 Revisited.
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to think
favourite
of.
of his. Yeah, that's a great album. Then you got Blonde on Blonde, which is a bit too long for my liking, but another great electric album.
Yeah, it's a bit too long.
Yeah.
Alright, so we wanted to, well, we didn't need to, but we're going to explain it. So for some people listening on Twitch Live, obviously the music will be coming in and out. You'll hear us doing intros, outros. We're a pie radio show. For other people that aren't listening to it on there, they're listening to it on Deezer's, podcast.com, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, wherever Joe Rogan is, and we are. And that's where you're listening. So we're editing it. So obviously the songs come out because we don't want to get copyright strikes and lose our platform this early on.
I should just point out that Joe Rogan is on Spotify now.
Yeah, they just bought his podcast for like.
Oh yeah, they did for $5 million, didn't? Was it 100 million?
Yeah, it was ridiculous money. Yeah.
Holy shit! All right, so anyway, we're better than Joe Rogan. So we're editing out. So if it sounds a bit like confusing for some people that are listening later on, that's why. If you're listening live, then it's not. It's fine. You get what you're paying for.
I try and cut as much of the talking out, but sometimes I find we have genuinely interesting discussions about the music, and I feel like taking it out would make the podcast less interesting.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's fair enough.
So you get the gist of how it's going, but we're the number one podcast, and we were the number one radio show when we were in college. We're keeping it going. And because we're the number one podcast, we get a ton of fan mail that we have to sift through.
So much fan mail.
A ridiculous amount. And we received some fan mail this week after we sifted through it, and Carl, you're going to carry on with it.
I am indeed. Right, so this week, just like the other week, to be fair, it's a bit of a weirdo. So he starts it with war. War never changes. I remember back in 1967 when I got drafted to fight in Nam. I never actually made it because the night before I was due to leave, I fell down the stairs of my house and broke so many bones that I was medically unable to ship out. In some ways, I had to fight a personal war against my own body to recover from the broken bones. So yes, I have had combat experience. From the news footage I saw at the time, and from films I've watched over the years, I can tell you that recovering from my broken bones was a much more difficult task than fighting in Nam. That looked like a piece of piss compared to what I went through. My bones are also extremely brittle now, so I've never properly recovered much, like the veterans who returned from Vietnam. What I don't understand is why I'm never hailed as a war veteran. It really gets to me. That's why I've written to you guys in the hopes that your huge platform will finally give me a voice to rally for veteran status. So please, guys, do your best from me. Best wishes from your loyal listener and Vietnam War veteran, Bob the Brittle Batterson. So,
Bob.
He's a bit of a nutter. If you're listening, Bob, I don't want you to listen to us anymore because you sound like a bit of a prick. So, yeah, there we go.
So, basically, we're not advocating for him to become a war hero.
No, he broke a few bones. Get over it. I don't care if they're still brittle now, but you didn't go to Nam. You didn't fight in Nam. You've got no veteran status, so don't listen to our show anymore, you fucking loser.
There we go. Oh, God, that was quite a strong take. I, on the other hand, Bob the Brittle Bone Man?
Bob
That's exactly
Batterson.
it. No, it's Bob the Brittle Bone Man.
That was 100%, yeah. You can carry on listening because we want that sweet revenue.
At least I didn't take the piss out of him by calling him Bob the Brittle Bone Man.
Maybe he's happy about it.
Right.
It's like a cool little nickname.
Okay, Bob, if you're happy with that, let us know next week.
Like how we call you Nonce Boy.
Oh, Chris. That's just out of order.
Goodness. That was War. War was our show. That was the ISIS Crisis. Before that was Holiday by Green Day about the Iraq War, which I didn't actually know was about Iraq War. I just thought it was
A nice song about his holidays to Greece.
Yeah. Hey ho. Hi. So every week's been themed up till now. and we've got a theme next week, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to leave Kai to introduce it and talk about his
recommendations for next week.
Okay, so next week is all about drugs. It's a heavy subject, much like war and cults and whatever we did before.
That was just our introduction.
Exactly. We just go deeper on this show. So yeah, my recommendations for next week, because I don't think either of you will have watched or listened to this album. So the film I'm recommending is Easy Rider.
Okay.
Because that's like a big stoner film from the 60s. It's just really good. I love it. So
I'm disappointed. I thought you were going to pick Climax, and I was hyped for that.
No, see, because we've all seen Climax, so I was thinking about that. It was between Climax, Christian F, and Easy Rider. But I didn't want to traumatise anyone by picking Christian F, so I went with Easy Rider.
I think Callum's just happy you didn't pick Requiem for a Dream.
I am over the fucking moon.
Off in the week.
I hate that film. I don't hate it. It's a good film, but it's too much.
I've never seen
it. Even once, it's a bit much to watch. But just if I have to watch it a second time, it's like Christ.
Do you say you've never seen it, Chris?
No, I've never seen it. It's on Amazon Prime, so it's like been a film that I keep meaning to watch.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, your personal recommendations to watch that before next week, because I've got a lot to say.
I probably will, to be fair.
Cool.
You're in for a treat. All right.
The album is...
Kai, you're cutting out. Oh, Kai's gone.
Okay, sorry, I think I dropped out there.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah, okay, we didn't hit any of your recommendation there.
Okay, cool. So, the album I'm recommending, and I'm not sure you're both going to be a fan of it, but it's Berlin by Lou Reed. Basically, I'm a huge Lou Reed fan anyways, but this album is like a concept album about two characters that essentially are like codependent on drugs, and there's like domestic abuse involved and prostitution. So all your classic Lou Reed isms, basically in one album. But it's like a concept album / rock opera. I just think it's really interesting. So yeah, those are my two recommendations.
I am heavily excited to talk about it next week. So next week's theme is drugs. Chris, do you want to read out our email if they've got any fan mail to send us?
Yes, if you want to send us any fan mail for us to read next week, or if there's any sponsors out there that want to get in touch and sponsor us, we're almost always open for that. Our email is coldtotouch2020@gmail.com.
There we go. All right, Chris, what's the final song? And you've been listening to Cold to the Touch with Callum, Kai and Chris on their war show.
Yeah, episode number 4. Episode number 4.
Next week.
Yeah.
Number 4.
And weirdly enough, 4 rhymes with war as well. It's like fate.
Yeah. It is fate.
Sadly, 5 doesn't rhyme with drugs, though.
Yeah, but you can get 5 scores of smack and inject it into your eyeballs. So there we go.
We don't condone you doing that, though.
Alright, Chris, please don't forget you can listen to us on Spotify, Deezer, podcast.com, Podbean, wherever else you can get your podcast that Joe Rogan can't. You can listen to us there.
You sounded really tinny there. You were like a robot.
It sounded like you were talking to a tin can.
Yeah.
Disappointed. All right, Chris.
Anyway,
out.